I mean, you were taking a serious risk against Tipperary. Yeah, he had to go for that shot, but I thought he took the right option.
But as well as that, lads, you have to say Barry Kelly was very consistent today. I know that people will be complaining there's a totally different set of rules to what it was the last day between Kilkenny and Tip, but at least he blew both teams for the same type of freeze.
He was consistent,
and even at the end, he was very, very consistent, and that's all you want from a referee, you know. So at least the next day, now probably he won't be refereeing the next day, you know. But if he was refereeing the next day, at least the players would know what they were facing, you know. And anyone, Kilkenny giving away the last free there, you know, there was no need for it. There was no need to dive in on the man, because all through the game he was given frees for tackles like that. But you know, in the heat of the moment, this was the last minute of an All-Ireland.
Looking around the stadium here, Liam Sheedy, Galway supporters are holding their breaths, holding each other, waiting to see what was going to happen. Joe Canny had missed a chance just before that. You always feel a player like Joe Canny, another fella would be completely rattled by that. He stood up and he took the free. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah, he did, and it was a tough free, you know. It was much harder than the one he missed. Yeah, the free in the first. I mean, Tanya got a great touch of the ball. David Lennon, he's going down along the side. Now he's well covered. Now, okay, you might say that, but at the end of the day, I feel Jackie Tyrrell went in a little bit up high, and you know, it's a difficult free. And you know, I mean, what a strike. I mean, that's literally over the black spot, you know. I mean, that just shows the composure. But I mean, he's been doing that in college games and club games. There's nothing new to that. I mean, he just kept his composure. He had his routine, stuck to his routine. And I think it would have been, you know, it would have been very tough for a player that's done so much, lit up this championship in 2012 to lose it and having missed the previous.
With Joe, instead of being disappointed or being downcast after the last one, he'd have been raging with himself. He'd have been waiting for another one like that, just to show what he could do. That's the character of the man. They all missed chances today. You know, all missed chances.
Like, Kenny missed quite a bit in the first half.
Quite a lot. And like, one thing that happened in the second half there, Michael Finlay got a ball when there were 2 points up, just in front of us here, about 40 yards out. He was on his own, and he hand passed the ball to Henry, who was in a worse position, and got under pressure, and Henry hit it wide. You know, it'll just show you how rattled Kilkenny were. You know, they were really, really rattled.
But I think, Ger, that comes back to the point that Michael Finlay wasn't in the game today. He didn't have his usual flowing game, so you know, he wasn't in a confidence space. He felt he had a lot done. He said, "Oh, here, there's Henry. He's having a stormer. I'll pass it out to him."
And it was the same with Conor Finlay, right? You know, when your touch is right and your confidence up and you get 1 or 2 scores and you're hitting the top of the ground, when you get a chance like that, you don't miss, you know. I mean, a great save by Skell.
Well, you mentioned it, Skell's save. I mean, there were so many potential turning points in this game. He tried to swallow the ball, having saved it.
The thing about Skell is, like, he's so confident. He doesn't, a big man, a great physical presence. Now, of course, it's Henry Shefflin here again. Look at that flick. Very like what he did in the Leinster final. Now, Finlay has it here. He goes for his right, which would be James's traditional weak side, we'll say. And he gets down. Now, if he had just flicked it out, or he could
was trying to flick it up,
but he didn't get it the first time, and like his body kind of got in the way of his hurley.
There was everything coming there. There was a hurley flying through the air as well. You know, so I mean, it was a great stop. But the important thing when the ball hit the ground was, get down this water, don't let it in, because there was boots coming in there, and all they needed was a touch into the back of the net, and that could have been curtains for Galway.
Which is, there'll be so many talking points going home this evening, how we could have won it, you know.
At least nobody has lost it, which I think is the main thing.
You know, if ever you would say that a draw was a fair, even with 50 minutes to go, we were saying it, that a draw is the only correct result here, and let him come out in 3 weeks' time, battle it out, and someone win it that day. But to be a shame for somebody to have lost it today by just 1 point.
Kilkenny were behind this game. At half-time, I said to you, this is Galway's more or less to lose now. They have their chance here. And Kilkenny, of course, you know they're going to do, came out in the second half. And their comeback was incredibly impressive because things hadn't been going right for them.
No, it was incredibly impressive. I mean, they'd scored 7 points in the first half. They literally only got 3 points in play. So they were really on the back foot. TJ Reid, the only forward operating. But the second half, they were completely different. And, you know, in fairness to TJ Reid again, in the second half, you know, that's a great score off his left-hand side. And they were trying to drag themselves back into the game at this stage. And they literally brought the game to Galway in that second half. And you know, the breaking ball, here's Aidan Fogarty, you know, a blistering game the last day, much quieter today. I think you'd have to say David Collins had a bit of it, but again, doing what he could, popping onto the break. And of course this man in the blue helmet, Brian Hogan, what a second half he had. You know, he was towering in the centre. And again, Henry, look up with that hand, you know, I mean, just all through. That's a fabulous score. I mean, that was a time now where really overall the team weren't performing. They were under pressure. And I thought, you know, we talked about leaders before the game. You had Brian Hogan, you had Henry Shefflin. They stood up and said, lads, we'll have to drag ourselves back into the game. And that's what they done.
OK, much more analysis and reaction to come, so don't go away.